Super Street Fighter 4, Split Second, Joe Danger, Heavy Rain, just a few of the games we've got happening today on the Spot. We're live. We're here at GDC 2010. I'm Brian Ekberg, joined by Tor Thorson and Guy Cocker from GameSpot UK.
Hello.
Man, welcome.
Hello. First time on the show.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here from overseas. You've been helping out all week, along with Randy from Australia. We've got a ton of GDC coverage to get to. We're going to be talking the news here with Guy and Tor in just a second, but before we do that, I mentioned some of the games that are going to be on the show today. Super Street Fighter 4, Split Second, Joe Danger, Heavy Rain, DLC, all sorts of good stuff. We're live, so if you guys want to send your questions in, do so now. You can send an email to onthespot@gamespot.com or use the email module on the page. Send us questions because we've got folks here who can answer your questions. Let's talk some trivia before we get into the news as well. This is our giveaway for today, and it may be one of my most favorite giveaways we've had in a while. It's from the folks at Disney Interactive Media Group, and there's a whole ton of stuff in here. There's a box. I don't want to open this because it's pretty awesome, I'm sure. I don't want to open it. You could be surprised. But we've got a copy of Alice in Wonderland for Wii. We've got a Tron t-shirt, which I'm not going to unfold because it'll be yours one of these days. But here's the star. Check this Mickey Mouse watch out. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this is a super nice watch, and no selling this on eBay. I want you guys wearing this thing. Anyway, we're going to have a trivia question at the end of the show to win this awesome prize pack from the folks at Disney Interactive Media. Thanks for supplying that. That's really cool of them. Anyway, the news.
The news.
GDC,
yeah.
The second to last day, right?
This is the second to last day. It goes into Saturday this year, which is, awesome for us.
Right.
But the big news, I guess, was last night's Game Developers Choice Awards, and the big winner was Uncharted 2, which won a record 5 awards. It won Game of the Year, Best Technology, Best Writing, Best Audio, and I'm forgetting the 5th one. But anyway, it's a grand haul for them. They lost out in 2 categories. They were nominated in 7. The 2 categories they lost out was in Innovation, which went to Scribblenauts.
Okay.
So that was Scribblenauts also won Best Handheld Game of the Year.
Okay.
So that's been a good year. And they won at the Interactive Achievement Awards last month as well, so they've been cleaning up.
Absolutely.
And then the big shocker was Batman Arkham Asylum won for Best Game Design. Kind of took it away from them, which again, it was well deserved. The guys at Rocksteady, your home country. Yeah, there we go. So it's one for the home team over there. So it was a good awards. It was interesting. Gabe Newell got the Pioneer Award and had some pretty choice words, and John Carmack got a Lifetime Achievement Award for almost two decades of Doom.
And Warren Spector wore a top hat with Mickey Mouse ears.
He did. Not shy about his new vocation at Disney Interactive Studios. Yes.
Bright red Dickie bar.
Very much so. So it was a good award show, and you can see it on our site right now. And they also, at the end of it, they debuted the new trailer for Deus Ex, which is also available on GameSpot.com.
And I should point out, we did an interview with the art director on that game earlier today, so we'll have that up. He's talking all about that trailer, all about Deus Ex. Human Revolution, I think.
Human Revolution is the full title, and it's going to be some kind of, it supposedly takes place before the events of the original Deus Ex. I haven't confirmed that yet, but I mean, as a fan of the first Deus Ex, I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what else is happening?
We had the Sid Meier keynote this morning. It wasn't really any big news coming out of it, but it was basically kind of, game design tips from the guy who they literally call the father of computer gaming. And he revealed some interesting things, though, about kind of Civilization. It started out as an RTS, which is kind of, heresy to people who like turn-based strategy like me.
Right.
And the fact that it almost was an RTS is kind of crazy. But he also talked about how kind of, he uses a lot of psychological tricks because basically players don't act rationally, and he talked about how people would freak out, game testers, when it was a 3-to-1 battle in Civilization, and he'd be like, why'd I lose? I played it 3 times, I should win once. People basically how people don't get statistics.
Right.
So it was kind of interesting that way. And he also said he wasn't really a big fan of games with gray moral choices. He didn't name names, but there's a lot of games out there right now like Mass Effect 2, which is excellent.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was just kind of great seeing this, kind of Grandmaster talk.
And you did it totally unscripted, is that right?
He did it completely unscripted. He just kind of he had some slides, but he was just talking off the cuff, and there was literally a line of people to autograph at the end. It was kind of crazy.
That's great.
So that's kind of, this little guy from Maryland or wherever he's from, it's kind of, he's a gaming god.
He's an absolute legend.
Yep, absolutely. And there's other headlines breaking out. There's some kind of new stuff.
Sure.
On a British game show. Gene Simmons announced he is the voice of Guitar Hero 6.
Really?
And in exactly that way. He's like, I am the voice of Guitar Hero 6 in full makeup, by the way. So it's
they haven't officially confirmed Guitar Hero 6.
They have officially confirmed there are 2 rhythm games coming out of Activision this year, in the back half of this year, one of which is DJ Hero 2.
Okay.
So unless Taylor Swift's doing Band Hero 2 again, we're going to get Guitar Hero 6.
Right.
And they said, they admitted so much in their last earnings call that they have flooded the market with way too many rhythm games. So
Sure.
That's it. And then Sony said they're on track to hit their 13 million PS3 annual target for sales. So, which seemed like it wasn't really that attainable a couple months ago, but now it looks like it's within their reach. So that's kind of the big news of the day.
All right.
But we also have a ton of. You want to run down some of these? Do we have time?
We still got more GDC coverage to get to.
We have, we have a ton of them today. Yesterday after the show, a bunch of them went up. We had another Deus Ex panel, which was really good. We had Akira Yamaoka, who is the Silent Hill composer, gave a talk about soundtracks and games. We had a really interesting kind of rant about how whether or not Xbox 360 achievements are detrimental to gameplay, and kind of a really heated debate in the forums about that. We also had the Epic Games briefing, which you went to. They showed off some cool new tricks for the Unreal 3 engine.
And they showed off APB.
APB, which is going to be awesome when it finally comes out.
Yep.
And also we had another achievement thing about how they were kind of tracking stats. And I think I mentioned that in yesterday's show.
Yep.
And you talked to Peter Molyneux.
I did, yeah. Well, no, I didn't talk to him. I went to his session, actually.
You basked in his presence.
Yeah, I did. I took it all in, all of the juicy Fable information. Yeah.
Okay.
His is always one of the best. I mean, it's always heavily attended.
It's always heavily attended, and it was very much like he was keep giving new information and then looking to his PR handlers like, oh, what have I done?
They got no fingernails. So
he loves that stuff. He said he was going to get sniped by one of them. So.
Yeah. That's one of his more famous quotes. But what was some big news out of that? Anything or just go ahead?
Yeah. So he ran through a bunch of stuff like new features for Fable 3 and kind of his design philosophy. One of them is he's been using Twitter a lot, which I'm sure you've seen, and he's adapting that into the game. So basically, he gave the example of if you marry someone who's rich, you'll get a lot of followers in the game. But if you just, I think he said the scullery maid. If you marry the scullery maid or someone who's low down in society, then you won't get many followers for doing that. We'll see how that kind of translates into game terms. But it's kind of a cool, interesting new feature.
Very cool.
He also talked about sales. He wants to sell 5 million copies of Fable 3, as I'm sure Microsoft does as well.
Yeah.
So that was
10,
interesting.
5
That would be good. The big news, I guess, was John Cleese is going to play your butler. So he showed this demonstration where instead of he's trying to reduce the amount of screens and menus in the game, and so he went into to go and see his butler. You press the start button, you go back home. He sees his butler, and the butler lays out all of the clothes for you. So if you're going on a diplomatic mission, gives you a nice bunch of clothes. If you're doing kind of an espionage mission, he'll get you something that's inconspicuous. And so that was quite cool. And it's going to be played by John Cleese, which is big news.
As a guy who grew up on Monty Python, that's big news to me.
Yeah, and he's going to have that Monty Python humor. He was saying.
Yeah. Most important news: the dog is back.
The dog is back. Yeah, he said he got a lot of death threats from when he kind of killed the dog at the end.
Right.
No spoilers on that. Sorry. Apologies. Yeah. But yeah, no, he said that in the session, and he said it was also voted the most animal-friendly game of all time, even though he was unnecessarily cruel to chickens in the game. So the new dog is going to be afraid of rabbits this time around. So juicy tidbit there.
I saw Watership Down, man. Rabbits are scary.
Absolutely. They're frightening.
So the last thing he talked about actually was Natal, kind of at the end.
Yep.
Someone asked a question about it, and he says that he can't give any specifics, but he said there's some really cool stuff that he's doing with it. So expect maybe some stuff around E3. I think he said there was going to be one more big reveal about the game at E3, and I'd guess it would be Natal.
And being Peter Molyneux, about 2/3 of that's going to make it in the game right now. Just kidding.
All right, Tor Guy, thank you so much. We appreciate it. As Tor said, we're going to have a ton more coverage. GDC continues tomorrow. We're going to have a lot more news write-ups coming up from some of the great sessions that will be there tomorrow as well. Guy, thank you for being here. Enjoy your trip back to the UK.
Pleasure. Thank you.
See you soon. Right now, guys, we're going to check out an interview that GameSpot editors did on the new racing game from Disney. It's called Split Second. Check it out.
Hey everybody, Sean McInnes here at GDC 2010. I am joined by Jay Green from Black Rock Studios, and we are about to have a look at Split Second. Jay, what are we taking a look at right here? What's this track?
Hi Sean, we're on downtown in Split Second, which is one of the environments we've got. Kind of fictional, American kind of inspired city. And in this environment, Split Second's kind of based on a reality TV show idea with a giant budget. Then we've got an environment where, as you can see now, there's all kinds of things blowing up and flying across the track.
This actually looks quite a lot like San Francisco right here.
There's inspiration that's come from all kinds of, generally I'd say West Coast American cities. They've got, big wide spaces for us to throw really arcade handling cars around,
So what makes Split Second different from other arcade racers out there?
Right, okay, well, I mean, what makes it this, in the genre, it's very fast. In terms of inputs, it's got steering, accelerate and brake. That's the part that's going to be familiar. What's unfamiliar is the power plays. And as you see on the screen, on the HUD, we've just got position and lap, but underneath that we've got a bar that fills up. And that's our power bar. That fills up by drifting, drafting, jumping, driving aggressively, and that allows you to remotely detonate stuff around the environment and change the track with explosive events, or with route changes, actually blow the racetrack up and move it into a different shape.
And so that affects not so much you as it affects the other racers on the track, right?
Well, if you mess up the timing, it affects you actually. Yeah, if you get it right, and that's one of the reasons why the HUD's been kept away from the edges of the screen, so that you can use as much of the screen as possible to get your timing accurate. Yeah, if you get that timing accurate, then you'll drop stuff on the other cars, and that can be a tactic to win the race.
Like that giant Space Needle-looking building that just fell down right there.
That was a route changer I dropped down there, and that's given me some track position. A lot of shockwaves coming up as that was dropping down, and that was disturbing the other cars as they were trying to race through it. But yeah, you can get your timing wrong, and you can play a power play against yourself. But if you get the timing all right, then that's the big part of the tactics about how you win a race of Split Second.
And how much do the tracks branch off into sort of alternate hidden paths, shortcuts, and that sort of thing?
Branch off a lot. Too much for you to see all in one race. You'd need quite a lot of times on a track in Split Second to see all that. But the rules in the studio, it's up on kind of screens all around the places, every lap is different. So there's a lot of stuff about to blow up here. Right, okay, a lot of that stuff you could see that was pushing the car around. That's the shockwaves that come off the power plays. That was quite hard work to hold the car against that stuff. You kind of need to drift against it. But yeah, the rule is every lap is different. So you need to be able to have enough route changing power plays to make it so that lap 1 is different to lap 2, is different to lap 3. And some power plays can change from one state to a second state to a third state. So you might find that you're going down a different lap on every single lap of the track from the same route changing power play.
Well, Jay, this is a game that a lot of people have had their eye on since you guys announced it a while ago. When is the game going to be finally available in stores, and which platforms will it be out on?
We're just kind of like in our last phase of development at the moment, and it'll be out on May the 18th on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 and PC.
Thanks a lot, Jay. Thanks
very much, Sean.
All right, make sure that you guys check out all the rest of our coverage of GDC on GameSpot.com.
Well, there you go. There's your look at Split Second, coming from Disney. Can't wait to play that game myself. Right now, we're taking a look at another game that I think I can't wait to play. It's called Joe Danger, and I'm joined by Sean Murray from Hello Games, who's joining us on the show. Thank you for being here. We're showing Joe Danger. You've got the Joe Danger button on.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got some
Not
branding
the
already.
t-shirt.
Not the T-shirt, but there are T-shirts.
There are T-shirts available.
It's always nice when you have, branding.
Yeah, absolutely.
And swag. At GDC, you got to have swag. Anyway, we've got it up on the screen here. What is Joe Danger? How do you play this game?
So Joe Danger is, I guess he's the main character. He's a cute, kind of happy little stuntman. He's probably not the world's best stuntman. He might be the world's worst, actually.
Okay.
But he's really determined, right? So the game is all about kind of thrilling the crowd, taking on crazy jumps. Sometimes they go wrong, you know. But he gets back up on his bike. He's okay, folks.
Yeah.
And he has another go, right? So it's kind of it's a lot of different kind of gameplay types rolled into one. So you're building up a combo down the bottom, and that's kind of like Tony Hawk style. You're using wheelies like you would use manuals in Tony Hawk's to link tricks together. You're pulling big tricks in the air and kind of keeping that going. That charges your boost bar, which is down there on the bottom. That boost is what lets you go faster. take even bigger jumps, and pull even bigger tricks to earn even more boost. So it's kind of a platformer as well. There's a lot of collecting going on. A little bit like Tony Hawk's as well. You've got the like they've got the skate letters, we've got danger letters.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're trying to spell that out, right?
Yeah, nice 80s guitar stings as well. We like everything cheesy.
Absolutely.
So we reward you for pretty much everything you do in the game. Lots of different styles of gameplay are rewarded. So if you combo the whole level, you'll get a reward for that.
Okay.
If you do the level really quickly, you'll get a reward for that. And we've kind of got lots of mini games going on, as well as the main kind of career and longer levels. So this is a targets level, and this is all about kind of precision driving, and at first it's kind of slightly difficult to get all the targets, but then it gets really difficult if you try and do that while you're comboing the whole level.
Sure.
And it's super difficult to do that, really quickly as well.
Can you talk about sort of the influences for this game? I mean, I see some Excitebike, I see some Trials HD. Can you talk about
Yeah,
how that came about?
absolutely. We're big fans of, kind of the games that we grew up with, that I grew up with. Certainly, Sega, Nintendo, those are big deals for us. So I think there's a lot of stuff in there. There's a lot of kind of 80s Excitebike,
Right.
definitely.
Yep.
But also things like Crazy Taxi, things
Okay.
like Sonic. Those are kind of good, fun games. When
Absolutely.
kind of bright meant fun, but not just casual.
Right.
It was like blue skies didn't necessarily mean that the game was going to be easy.
Right.
And we've got a kind of a hardcore depth underneath it. It's quite a difficult game, but you can get a lot out of it, and like I was saying, you can play it in lots of different ways.
I would imagine that the controls are fairly straightforward, right?
Yeah, the controls are fairly straightforward, but we kind of layer it.
Okay.
So it starts off pretty easy, where you've just got to accelerate and brake, a little bit like Trials, like you said. But then you start putting in some tricks, some flips. We also have a bunny hop, and that's something you charge up. Again, that's kind of, I guess, where the platforming element comes in as well.
Right.
It's a bike game, but with a jump button, which is kind of cool. We've also got a punch button, and that's for our multiplayer racing. So
Okay.
just like classic road rash style, I guess. When you draw up beside someone, you always want to give them a punch.
So we got a great character here. Does he have a story? Is there a narrative
Yeah.
behind Joe Danger?
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess he's, like I was saying, maybe not the world's greatest stuntman. As you can see, he's got a little bit of a gut. So he's eaten a few too many hamburgers,
Yes.
he's crashed a few too many times.
So
but-
have I.
Yeah, you're trying to take him back to claim the title of Master of Disaster.
Okay.
Right. His enemies are those guys you saw racing against. They're kind of like the boss battles.
Okay.
Every tour that you go through ends with one of those, and that's, I guess, you're trying to claim the title off these young upstarts.
All right. How many levels are we talking about? How many?
Right now, there's about 50 levels in there. We've
Okay.
also got user-generated content, so you can make your own levels.
Okay.
The editor for this, all the levels in the game were made using that. We've got about 10 different gameplay modes. We've also got multiplayer and split screen.
All right. And well, we don't have a lot of time, but we should let people know when this game is coming out and what platform.
It's coming out in spring, so really soon on PSN.
All right. There you go. There's your look at Joe Danger. Right now, Homer's on the floor. GDC Live. Take it away, Homer.
We're at the Sony booth, and we're going to go ahead and just check out what's going on here. Looks like they got some wakeboarding HD and some Joe Danger and some Greed
Thank you
Corp
so
right
much.
here.
Perfect.
And
that.
one
That was
reminder,
great.
if
Yeah,
you guys
thank you,
want me
Grant.
to
Appreciate
check out
that.
something in particular at this booth, go ahead and hit me on the tweet at GameSpot. So I'll be fielding any questions you may have about the Sony booth. Right now, we're looking at the PSP Go. They got 6 minis here on display: Blast Off, Field Runners, iDracula, Zombie Tycoon, Balloons. I know my cameraman. Oh, I don't want to quit the game. My man Anthony was hooked on the Zombie Tycoon. Looks like we're looking at Hell's Domain here. Anyways, let's move on to some other actions over here. We got the PlayStation Move, obviously, at the press conference earlier this week. Sony blew it out with their big motion controller. I'm with my man. How's it going, dude?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. So what are you showing off here in this tech demo?
Well, we're just showing like how the controller can move, how it goes up and down, how it kind of senses where you are and everything.
Well, you got the world and a sword.
My hand, I can go anywhere I want.
That's lethal right there. Very cool. So what's been the response in general for the Move? With this,
people think it's pretty cool that you can like move around. They think it's a very sensitive. They played both the demo we had here. This is just our tech demo to show, what the abilities are. And also on the other side, you can see, the actual games in play, like a gladiator game we have, ping pong game.
Sports Champions and stuff.
Yeah, Sports Champions, you can play that over there. So it's actually pretty cool. The response overall has been positive.
Very cool. All right, well, thanks for joining us. We're going to make our way along. Where are we going? We're going this way? All right, so looks like we got some Dante's Inferno on the PSP. EyePet, this was definitely a big showcase of the press conference earlier this week. And looks like they're feeding the little dude, or no, they're teasing him. I don't know what's going on here. Let's see. They're trying to, oh, poor EyePet. Give him some food. You got any food for him? Look at that. So, Motion Fighters, let's see. Is Motion Fighters around here? Let's see. Let's take a look around. So that was EyePet over there. I see some Final Fantasy 13 over here and some PlayStation business. I believe Brian Eckberg wants me to look at Motion Fighters. No Motion Fighters at the booth, but there is Final Fantasy 13. Check the site for the review that Kevin Van Ord put up. Earlier last week we had Mod Nation Racers as a demo, and looks like folks are able to play it here. Let's see what this dude's got going on. Oh, yeah, get online. Oh no, won't let you in. What's up with that? How you liking the game so far, man?
Well, it's pretty good. I just picked it up, but it looks like they got a good, good little system going on. Looks like fun, and we'll see how many tracks they build into it.
Very cool. All right, so let's move on over here, and here is the Sports Champions actually that that gentleman over there was talking about. Looks like we got some ping pong. How's it going, man?
What's up? I'm one of the guys working on the motion control. I saw you guys, and the gentleman said that you had some questions.
Oh yeah, so we're live right now. So if you want to give us an idea of what they got on display here for Sports Champions, why don't you walk us through what they're doing?
Sure. So this is.
Introduce yourself, actually.
Oh, my name's Anton Mikhailov. I work on the tech of the motion controller. Okay. So I'm one of the guys that works on the hardware and the software.
Cool. So we saw this at the press conference, and it looks like it's pretty much one-to-one with the motion now. Yeah. And this is a great example of how this is going to work. So tell us about this game. Is this going to be a final a game that's going to be packaged with the PlayStation Move at launch?
I don't actually have any launch knowledge. I'm actually a tech guy. Okay. So you can probably find a PR person. The tech demos are actually ours, so that's the one that we know the best.
Break down the technology to us then.
Sure. So the stuff you see here, this is a ping pong game, obviously, but here they're definitely changing your motions around. Like the tech demos you saw there were very much one-to-one. They're showing the raw tracking capability of the controller. Right. So that's the developer section. Here, the developers are taking that motion and they're making you kind of look cooler for the camera, because when you're actually doing the motions, you might not be as good at ping pong as a pro would be. So as a novice player, they kind of dress their motions up. As a more expert player, they would take that aid off, and then it would be just kind of raw motion. It'd be much harder. So that's kind of what we're going for. You can have the casual interface, where it is interpreting your motions. It's more gesture-based. It's helping you out. And then you have the more hardcore one where it's doing your motions exactly like you're doing them one-to-one, and then your skill really matters for the game.
So, I'm a little curious, and if it's cool, I'm going to grab this real quick. Yeah. So it doesn't feel like there's any, gyroscopes or anything like that. So is it basically the eye detecting the motions of this, or is there mechanisms in here that are detecting the motion?
There are mechanisms in here, so there's actually accelerometers and gyroscopes inside.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Look at that. See? I got schooled.
They don't weigh anything. It's not like the ones that wiggle in your hand. They're really just small circuits, so they don't weigh anything or they don't feel like anything. It is being also tracked by the camera, so it's a two-step system. We're using the camera for position tracking, which is very hard to get any other way. When you just have inertial tracking, it's a lot more gesture-based. It's not really like one-to-one in position. So we use the accelerometers and gyroscopes for like kind of the one-to-one angle tracking, and then we use the camera for the positional tracking, so you get like the full true 3D one-to-one.
Super hardcore tech. Thanks for joining us, Anton. Looks awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm getting the wrap it up sign from my producer in the back here, but we're going to keep going on the show floor of GDC 2010. I think next we're going to go hit up the Nintendo booth, but until then, I'm going to throw it back to Brian Ekberg on set right now.
Hey everybody, it's Ricardo, and I am standing here with Alex Noisy from Gaijin Games, who is showing off their brand new Bit.Trip Runner here at GDC. This is now your 4th entry in the Bit.Trip series. Talk to us about the success the series has had, because everybody seems to really be into these games.
Well, thank you very much. The success that we've had is very, I don't know, it's very humbling, really. These are just small little games that actually do have a pretty big message behind them. I'm not going to give it away, really, because I like the exploration that the fans are having about what is the lore, what is the story. And we're just thrilled that we have such a vocal and passionate fan base. And I'm glad that these games that look as stylized as they do are touching so many people. Yeah, we're on game 4 of 6, and we're still charging ahead, you know?
So talk to us about the way the series has evolved, because you started with one type of kind of re-envisioning of classic gameplay, and every entry has done that. So walk us through and tell us how we got to platforming.
Basically, what it comes down to is sort of reflecting stages in human development through gameplay, through art, through music, and that's where you had Beat, Core, and Void. Those were stages in development that were a little bit more esoteric and less tangible, right? And now that Commander Video has mastered all of these stages of growth, from the ethereal to the corporeal, he is now ready to take the world on by storm. And so this is the first game where you play as a literal form of Commander Video. And he's running, he won't take no for an answer, and he's barging it through life.
Retro games are always kind of a safe fallback, but you guys haven't just done a straight rip of retro games. There's a lot going on here. Can you talk to us about the sensibilities that kind of have informed the series?
If you think of retro games, or just retro as a genre or phenomenon, we wanted to take that idea of retro, but build it with the tools of today. What is retro really? It's sort of an aesthetic, and we wanted to realize that aesthetic in a way that people will be drawn to today. So if we had just done straight up 2D, arguably crusty graphics, I don't think that it would really speak to people in the same way. So these games are entirely in 3D, everything. The Bit.Trip series is a remake of some sleeper hit old Atari 2600 game that never was. That's kind of the way that we think about it.
Now, the other thing that has been a huge part of the game's appeal has been the music. So talk to us about the music behind all these games, and for fans of it that maybe have missed out, where they can pick them up.
Rhythm is a big part of life. So as we're following this character, as he rose from nothing to something, we wanted to address that part of life as well as all of the other sort of more tangible parts of life. And so that's why these games are rhythm music games. And they're also rhythm music games because I'm a huge fan of the rhythm music genre. If people do like the music, they can buy it on CD Baby or iTunes. The Bit.Trip Beat soundtrack is available right now, and the Bit.Trip Core one should be coming out soon. And we will be releasing all of them.
Very cool. So how big is this game? We've noticed that it's kind of broken up into 3 different areas as Commander Video explores the world. Size and difficulty. Hit us, because we know what to expect. As we just saw, these ain't easy.
Right. The Bit.Trip games are always challenging, and this game is much bigger than all of the other Bit.Trip games. There are 70 levels to play through. Some of them are retro challenges, sort of bonus levels. Some of them are the main levels, like what you're seeing here. But I think that it's on par overall. It's sort of like a natural progression from the last game to this game. And the challenges are there as well, although I do believe that this game is going to speak to a new audience in people who love platformers as well.
There is something very primal about just jumping up, but there's a lot more to this game than that. There's a couple new moves that you get, because this isn't just jumping. I mean, we're seeing that now, but there's a lot to it. So talk to us about how Commander Video is actually going to evolve over the course of a couple levels.
You start with only being able to jump, and as you learn and master these moves, you unlock new moves like Kung Fu Kick, sliding, super jumping, or springing as we call it, And then there's another secret move. It's not really secret, but it's pretty cool. I don't want to spoil it for the fans. You get that in a later level.
Very nice. All right, well, I guess the most important question to ask you right now is when can we get our hands on this?
We're thinking it's going to be summer-ish. So very soon.
All right, there you go. That is your first look at Bit.Trip Runner. Do summerish. We will be tracking the game and let you know exactly when it's coming out as soon as we can.
Well, there you go. There's your look at Bit.Trip Runner and Frobot. Thanks for that, Ricardo. We appreciate that. In just a few minutes, we're going to have Seth Killian from Capcom here to talk about Super Street Fighter 4. We're going to be showing that game off along with Randolph Ramsey from GameSpot Australia. We've got a full international contingent happening here on this GDC special on Friday. So if you have questions, please send them in because the guys who can answer those questions are here. You can send it in via email at onthespot@gamespot.com. Fill out the trivia answer thing. We'll get the questions. We'll answer exactly whatever you want to know. So that'll be coming up. But first, we're going to take a look at an interview with Super Street Fighter 4 producer Yoshinori Ono. Let's check it out.
So my name is Yoshinori Ono, and I'm a producer at Capcom, and I'm here today to talk about the new title, and specifically about Hakan, the new character in it. So I'll give you a little background on Hakan and how he was devised. So basically, early on in the process of making Super Street Fighter 4, we knew we wanted something new and different that we hadn't seen before. You know, with regular Street Fighter 4, we brought a lot of old characters back, we added some new ones, but we felt like there was still something missing. We didn't have a new Blanca, a new Dulcin, a new kind of wacky offbeat character. So at the beginning, we took like a month, and I told all the dev team, I said, hey, let's go on YouTube, let's rent some videos, let's try and find interesting fighting styles. Let's look around, explore the world, see what's out there. So we can come up with something new. So among these videos, we got into this Turkish oil wrestling, where these older guys actually douse themselves in olive oil. You know, they can kind of grapple with each other. You know, granted, it's an important part of culture in that part of the world, but you know, looking at it from the outside, it just looks like it's a really interesting fighting style. So we thought, you know, this would really fit with Street Fighter. If we found a way to arrange this and make it Street Fighter-like, we come up with some really unique stuff here. So that's how that was born. You know, we wanted kind of a new Dulcin or new Blanca for this new game, and Hakan kind of fills that role with his unique fighting style. So basically, our main kind of theme, what we were driving toward in regular Street Fighter 4, was kind of a class reunion of sorts, getting all these old characters together, rejoining the user themselves with Street Fighter again, you know, getting them used to it again. So basically, you know, the Street Fighter 2 characters and some of the Alpha characters, we can think of them as all being gone to the same school, hence the reunion theme. Whereas the Street Fighter 3 characters are kind of different. Maybe they went to the same school, but they were in a different department. Maybe they were studying the engineers or something, while the Street Fighter 2 and Alpha people were the humanities department, something like that. So they're a little bit different, and they were kind of hard to do right away. But we saw the fan reaction after 4 came out. A lot of people assumed wrongly, of course, that I somehow didn't like the Street Fighter 3 series, or I hated those characters. So you know, that's definitely not the case. So we wanted to show them that no, of course we don't. Just like we love these characters, but we're gonna have to adjust them a little bit to get them in. So we knew we wanted to do these characters in 3. The first thing you want to do is figure out who the users wanted, because we kind of wanted to make it sort of a fan service sort of game. So all of our research, looking at message boards, looking at emails, we found consistently that Dudley, Makoto, and Ibuki came out on everyone's list. So those 3 were chosen based upon user requests, and that's basically kind of the story behind that. So when we had to put characters from 3 and 4, you know, we wondered about how are we going to squeeze these guys in here without the parry system. So basically what we did, we took a really close look at these characters, we kind of sliced and diced them, we figured out which parts pertain specifically to parrying and which parts are a part of their regular moveset. So when we sliced off the parry part, we didn't just throw it in the trash can. We took it aside, we said, how do we arrange this, how do we fix this, how do we alter this to squeeze it into the Street Fighter 4 mold. We don't want to take things away, we want to kind of change it up a bit. So basically what we found was that if we really focused on the high-level players, the players that would have used parrying a lot in 3, what we find is we have the technique of you know, EX focus canceling, which is a really high-level sort of thing to do. It kind of suits the Street Fighter 3 playstyle. So you know, they can no longer parry in the pure sense, but they have kind of a similar high-level strategy that people can use. So rather than kind of force characters from Street Fighter 3 into 4, we looked at it as making Street Fighter 4 characters that felt like Street Fighter 3 characters, if that makes sense. So we kind of arranged them, we touched them up, we brushed them up a bit, changed them up, and then put them in 4 so they felt natural but still retained some of that challenge, some of that high-level sort of strategy the Street Fighter 2 characters always had. So hopefully we got there where we needed to be. The users will make the final call there. So once again, I'm here talking today about Super Street Fighter 4, not Onimusha, but Super Street Fighter 4. And this game will be released on both the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. The release date in North America is April 27th. So by all means, when the 27th rolls around, pick it up, check it out. We think it represents a really big leap from Street Fighter 4, so I hope you really enjoy it.
Well, there you go. There's your an interview with Yoshinori Ono, and now we got even more Super Street Fighter content for you because we got Seth Killian from Capcom here. What's up, man?
How's it going? Nice to see you.
Pleasure to see you. Thanks for being on the show. And we also have Randolph Ramsey from GameSpot Australia making his debut. I believe it's your debut.
This is my debut on international GameSpot TV. So
Amazing.
hey, Brian, how you doing?
Well, we had Guy here. Now you're a full international representing, man.
Yes, we are the world.
And I'm so happy to have Randolph here because he is a resident Street Fighter expert and I am not. So I'm gonna rely on you heavily on this. But Seth, where do we start with Super Street Fighter 4?
Well, we're getting near the end, so the game's coming out on April 27th. I know a lot of players around the world we get a lot of emails saying, how about you just release it earlier? And I'm saying, oh, it's not quite how it works, but we want to get it out as soon as we can. But we've just introduced our last new character. He's a Turkish oil wrestler, of course, named Hakan, and it definitely trends toward the zanier end of the Street Fighter spectrum. That's always been one of my favorite things about the series, is that it sort of combines sort of more serious fighters like, you know, Ryu or Akuma, alongside characters like Blanca, who's a little zanier, now Hakan. You have more comical characters like Dan. But so Hakan definitely fits on the spectrum. The thing I like about him is that he looks sort of silly in a lot of ways, but he's actually pretty good.
He's effective.
Yeah.
Well, otherwise, why would you put all that oil on?
Exactly. Yeah, we just had a little a private event here at GDC to sort of debut the character, and had some great Street Fighters in there from some of the Street Fighter community, and they were sort of like, this guy's no good. So I went up there and crushed about 10 of them, and then later went by and saw some of the top guys playing Hakan and really putting on some beatdowns. So I think people will be surprised once they get their hands on him, all the damage he can do.
Well, that's always the way. You got to learn how a guy plays. Right?
Exactly. So yeah, he doesn't. He's just not obvious. But
well, let's dive in and take a look and watch him in action.
So here's Hakan. Definitely crazy look, and he's got a bunch of sort of normals. So he's got his regular grabs. There's a towards grab, and we'll do a quick away grab. And also, if you want to jump just straight up and down for me, he's also got an air grab, so you can keep people on the ground that way. So I got you're cool on the ground there. He's also got this, which is his grab and squeeze, and it'll send you 3 different ranges depending on which one you do. He's also got a kick grab. That's a pile driver with a kick, and if you duck for me, that'll whiff, but if you're standing, it'll grab you. And I can also charge that up, so to speak, by holding down the button. So if your timing is, if your opponent isn't quite where you want them when you begin the move, you can sort of hold on to that.
So what's the range on that one, sir?
It depends. So, well, that's the standing roundhouse, but so he can do, it's pretty good actually as an anti-air kind of move, or just grabbing somebody who you think is going to stand. So you can do a little bit of a mix-up between that, if somebody you think is going to maybe be crouching or blocking, and going for this if you think they're going to jump and that'll catch them out of the air. Or again, you can go for the air throw if you think they're going to jump as well, to try and keep them on the ground. So it's a bit of a guessing game there.
So he's got a lot of, I guess, close range move, but he's also got a good distance one, right?
He does. So this is the slide, and it's also got a little follow-on move where you can mash a punch there and quickly get a follow-on move. But what I should say is, well, 2 things. So one, he's got sort of all his normal moves, and then he's got what we call a command version of all the normal moves, and that's just, so this is his standing middle punch, and then this is holding towards in his middle punch. So it's sort of a special version. So here's his standing hard punch, towards and hard punch. Special version of all his normal moves, so that gives him a lot more sort of normal options. But what really makes this interesting is, of course, he's an oil wrestler, so it's all about the oil and staying oiled up. So he's got the oil shower, and there it is. He's covering himself with virgin olive oil, and now he's all oily. You can see him. That's the EX version of the oil. That'll go straight through fireballs. But what this does, so if we saw this move before, now notice how far it slides along the ground. So you can use his command moves to slide forward or back, and it really increases the range. It also massively increases the range on his grab. It also increases his damage, defense. So it's really, essential to the Turkish oil wrestler style to stay oily.
Can you stack up that oil?
You can.
just keep doing it?
Exactly. So there's a sort of a short kick version of the oil. You see how quick that goes, and that'll expire quite quickly in just a few seconds, all the way up to the EX oil, which will stick with you for a long time. And that will power up the slide move like that. You can move across the screen very quickly and then get the extra damage on the follow-on. And then, for instance, this standing roundhouse, if you block that, just block that one for me. Yeah, just block. Just you got to block it. No, I'm not oily anymore.
All up.
So there, that's exactly what you got to do. Just block down and back. There you go.
Yep.
And then quite quickly I can grab off that. So you're familiar with Zangief's sort of techniques of, he does a few light attacks, then into like a low short, and then a pile driver. Hakan can basically do this standing roundhouse from all the way across the screen when he's oiled up. And basically he's got like a Zangief version of that move, and if you block that, I can either go low or mid and grab you, or go high like this. I've also got the super. That's sort of a powered up version of his kick grab there. And again, very silly. And of course, we shouldn't forget about the ultra, so I'll help you out here. And if you could just jump for me quickly. There you go. You slip and slide. One of the most ridiculous ultras in all of Street Fighter history. Wait for it. Oh no. Out the back. And there's that pause where you see Ibuki sort of sliding along the ground like, I trained my whole life to be a ninja, and now I've been shot out by this oily guy, and I'm about to crash into the wall. It's demoralizing for your opponent.
You mentioned Zangief. Is he the character that's most like Hakan?
I think that's definitely the right starting point. So he does use the 360 motions on his kick and punch grabs, but he's really very distinct from Zangief, and I think the people who've had a little hands-on time with him have really been on the same page with that. So yeah, this move really changes him up, so he's got a fast way to get across the screen with some of his normals as well. His focus attack, of course, very important. And then you can go straight into the grab from there.
Because he looks to have quite good speed.
Yeah, he does. So he's got a very low jump, so he's not the fastest character in the game, but he's definitely got some ways around it. I should also add he's got this sort of, we call the coward dodge. This is down in all three punches, so you can you can quickly go from that into a grab, if you manage to duck under a fireball and then fire out your opponent with a grab.
What about in terms of brute strength? Where does he rank?
Oh, pretty highly. He does a lot of damage, so you'll see very quickly that was just a quick 2 hits into a grab, and that did about 40%. And if I had oiled up, it would have been even more damage. So that really is the key, and that's your opportunity. So after, so I could jump in here and get a grab, and then I want to quickly oil up, and I have that opportunity while you're on the ground, and then to stay oily. And I'm able to do some effective stuff from across the screen, or obviously very dangerous when he gets in close. And that's basically Hakan in a nutshell, but that's the key, is sort of finding opportunities to stay oiled up. It's ridiculous, but it's a fun new game mechanic, and it really is. So he's in some ways reminiscent a little bit of Q from Third Strike. People remember him. He could taunt to sort of increase his defense. So Hakan gets a lot of benefits out of his oil, really increases the range on all those command normals, even changes their properties. So for instance, the stand roundhouse here doesn't knock you down, but when I oil up, it'll knock you right down. So, and for instance, I can't chain my light kicks, but when I'm oiled up, it's very easy to just sort of run them all together because I'm oily. So the attacks just sort of flow one right into the other. And he's a ton of fun.
Now, speaking of Third Strike, we've got Street Fighter 3 characters in here now. Obviously, you've had to change them a little bit, right? Because parry was so important in Street Fighter 3. Can you talk through like how these guys have changed, if at all?
What I think the team has been really proud about is that they really do feel like they're Third Strike equivalents. So again, early reports from a lot of Third Strike players say the same thing. So they've got some new versions of their old tricks, but all the sort of fun things that you like to do in Third Strike, you're going to feel right at home. You're going to be able to jump right into these kind of techniques again. So again, Ibuki has all of her chain combos, or a lot of them. She's got a bunch of techniques with the kunai, the sort of the air knife, sliding on the ground. All of her crazy kicks are all still in effect. They're a new version in the Street Fighter 4 world, but they're all, everything you wanted to do in Street Fighter 3 you can still do. So Dudley's got all of his old tricks. His overhead roundhouse into the super, very dirty trick there. It's all still working in Street Fighter 4.
Should we take some questions from the audience?
Go for it.
All right, let's do it. We've got one from Eduardo in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He wants to know if you could, Seth, if you could explain the different colors on the special move meters at the bottom of the screen.
Different colors on the special move meters at the bottom of the screen. Yeah. Well, basically, as you charge up your bar, you get, it's broken into 4 parts. So your super bar is broken into 4 parts. And each one, once you get a quarter of your meter full, you're able to do an EX version of your move.
Okay.
So that's sort of a more powerful. So for like Hakan, there's the EX grab, you get a little more range. It has some sort of special abilities. Focus canceling is also, like there, is done on with your super bar. So that'll take half your meter. We're, of course, in the training mode here, so my meter never really runs out.
Right.
We're in the land of happy full meter. And then your ultra combo, of course, will go up as you take damage or you get hit. And once it reaches 50%, you're able to execute the move, and when it reaches full, you're still doing the same move, but it does extra damage.
Is the green and purple, though, is that just an indicator of which color, which number ultra you
Thank you for
got?
clarifying. Yes, that's a quick way to look. And also, if you can quickly jump for me and get hit by that. Actually, when I execute it, you'll actually see the name of the ultra quickly flashed on the bottom of the screen. That's something else that's changed from Street Fighter 4. Very minor, but just a little reminder in case you forget which one is Ultra 1 and 2, which one your opponent is doing, so you get a little more familiar with the move.
I'm wondering if you can give us some insight of why oil wrestling and how they came to that decision.
Oh, the concept art for one of the final, we wanted to add another brand new character to the Street Fighter universe rather than just bringing back all old favorites. So we did a ton of concept work, and I wish I could share with you there are some really insane concepts. So Hakan on the insanity scale, actually, I would say is in the bottom third.
Really?
Of how, there were martial arts clowns and things like that were up for consideration. So I think Hakan actually came out quite well, but he's got a lot of unusual design touches. I don't know exactly what's on his head. That is his hair. It's not a helmet. But it's very unusual. And Turkish oil wrestling is, of course, a recognizable martial art around the world. Not as sort of tough as like a Krav Maga or something like that, but distinctly, and it really gave the animators and the designers a chance to go nuts. So they were able to explore the oil as a mechanic in terms of changing the properties on his moves and what would it be like to actually fight a really oily, muscular guy.
I would love to see the rejected.
Yeah, one of these days.
One of these days, yeah, we'll have the Capcom tell-all book. Maybe in the collector's edition we'll have some of those. That would be fun. But we've got Hakan, and I'm really pleased with the way he turned out. I was thinking at the beginning when I was first playing him before he was finished, this guy's a little too obvious. But really, as he's come to full development, for an oil-covered head basher, he's remarkably subtle. So I mean, it really is a balance to try and stay oiled up and know the range on all of your normal moves to try and get in close and close that distance and scare your opponent into making the mistake where they land on your oily stomach and then get shot out of his butt into the wall.
Okay. Absolutely. I'm kind of partial to the karate clown, though. That sounds pretty good, too.
There's always time in the Street Fighter world. Keep hope alive for the karate clown.
What about in terms of weaknesses there? Like, we talked about all his strengths. Like, what's he particularly weak against, would you say?
He can get baited, and so it's any character that has a strong distance game with projectiles and things like that. So Dalsum is going to be hard for him. Characters with slower projectiles, not so bad, and he's able to slide under some of them in some circumstances. But from across screen, he doesn't have as many options. So you're not really playing a fireball character, but for instance here, stay right about there. And so really, this is one option he has, is from mid-screen or even 2/3 screen or even a little further, you can fire off his super. So that gives him some reason to sort of build up his bar and not use it on EX moves. And that gives him more of a full screen counter, and that can help change the dynamic in some of the more distant matches.
And also, did you mention that his EX oil will swallow a fireball? Is that right?
It doesn't swallow a fireball, but it will allow fireballs to pass through him. So if people are keeping you out from across the screen, they're at the same time risking something sort of strategically by giving you a chance to oil up. And that makes you really very dangerous very quickly. So he has he can grab you from almost half screen away when he's fully oiled up.
Okay.
All right, well, an in-depth look at Hakan. Now, I have to ask the question everybody wants to know is, when is Super Street Fighter 4 coming out?
April 27th. It's only $39.95. That's a really great price, I think. So we've got, again, 10 new characters, 4 brand new online modes. The bonus stages are back. Great price point. If you don't like Street Fighter, this is definitely a Street Fighter game. But for anybody that loves Street Fighter, this is everything you've been waiting for.
And important life lessons, the importance of staying oiled up.
Stay oiled up, people.
Yeah. Seth, thank you for being here. We appreciate that. Randolph, thanks for helping out. Nice to see you on the show.
Great to be
and
here.
right now, we have a pair of segments we want to show you guys. First of all is a demonstration of the EyePet from Sony, and then Homer is back on the show floor at GDC live. So I'm going to try to steer him around and see what we can see on the show floor of GDC 2010. Check it out.
Hey folks, Homer Ibarra back here at the Sony 2010 GDC event. I'm with my man Nick Doucet, right?
That's right.
And you are the creative director on EyePet. How's it going, man?
It's going great, yeah?
I'm doing awesome. So now we're taking a look at EyePet. You had an extensive demo on stage earlier, and for anybody who doesn't know anything about EyePet, what can you tell them?
Well, EyePet, first of all, is a pet in which a game in which you bring a virtual pet into the living room. So it's augmented reality. It's fairly new in games. It's something that's existed for some time in as a tech demo, but we've really brought that into the living room as an entertainment, And so at the core of EyePet is this virtual creature on your floor, and you can interact with him the same way you'd interact with a pet. So if you have animals at home, then you can stroke him, and he starts rolling on his back, and you can tickle his belly, and you can play with him the same way you play with a pet. And then using the PlayStation Move, you can bring virtual toys inside, into your hands, and use them, to play with your iPad. So for example, you could have a shower. And then that turns into a shampoo bottle, so you can squirt it onto your iPad using your hands. You can make bubbles, and then grab your shower again, and then wash him off. And really, what PlayStation Move is allowing us to do is to, in a very intuitive way, to bring this object magically into your hand, because you see yourself on screen, yourself, your family, your kids, whoever, and you see these magical toys, into your hand, and that's really the magic of iPad. That's what we wanted to deliver, And it's been great so far. The game has been released in Europe last year, but it wasn't with PlayStation Move. We used like a 2D, like a card that you held to the screen, and it was okay, but it had this limitation. With PlayStation Move, we can really push these boundaries and put it in the hands of anybody, and they have great fun.
Cool. So it looks like some folks are down here playing with the iPad now. Now you mentioned, this was out with the eye support. Now, how is the PlayStation Eye and the PlayStation Move going to work in conjunction? You mentioned like the shampoo and the shower and everything like that, but then on stage they showed some folks drawing some pictures, allowing the eye to capture it, and then it became a 3D thing. Is that going to be an integral part with the PlayStation Move as well?
Absolutely, that's at the core. It's one of the magical features of iPad is that you can draw on the screen using the PlayStation Move. And teach your pet how to copy your drawing. So at first he's not so good, and he makes lots of mistakes. But over time he gets better. And then once he knows how to draw really well, you can actually teach him to draw toys. So you draw the different components of a toy, and then these components then come together, turn into 3D, into a toy on your floor, in your room, and you can fly a plane or drive a car on your floor, and really, bring those virtual objects in the real world. So it's all about this augmented reality. Always comes back to this, the magical augmented reality.
Very cool. So let's talk about what's actually happening here. So it looks like they got a little crayon over there. They're going to draw something. And what's iPet doing right now? Just waiting for the thing to be drawn?
So right now, yeah, he's just waiting. So this is the balloon sketchbook. So we've got someone trying to draw like different shapes. So you see, this is just like a swirly shape. And this is going to then be copied by iPad and transform into balloons. And these balloons will be interactive, so you'll be able to juggle with them with your hands, and iPad will return them, so you can have a little rally going. So here you see all these lines. I don't know what that's gonna be the strangest balloon ever. But that'd be interesting, actually.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right?
And what we've done with iPad is that we've given these tools and made them accessible to everybody. And experimenting is part of the fun as well. And we want people to try and find out what would happen if I'm not drawing what I'm supposed to do, but it's something else.
Now you mentioned this game is already out in Europe, but obviously the PlayStation Move hasn't launched yet. Is it going to update and support the previous iPad?
Yeah, that's right. So for those who've already bought the iPad with the cards, we're making sure that we give them a good deal so that they can upgrade to the PlayStation Move version, and so that everybody can be level. And for North America, the great news is not only we've been optimizing the game for PlayStation Move, and it's more robust, and there'll be more content as well. I can't tell you too much, but there'll be more content. But also we've been putting all the online functionality that we've added since the beginning. So you'll be able to create videos, post your best videos, race them. You can actually also exchange your drawings with other people. There's lots of costume packs we've downloaded. All that stuff is rolled into the day one release for America, so you're really getting a great package.
Now, is this going to be releasing with the PlayStation Move now? Is it, you guys have the same release date in North America as the PlayStation Move, or is it going to be launched before or after?
So it will be launched as a launch title for PlayStation Move this fall.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Looks like a lot of fun. So hopefully, you know, by the time I get back here, I'll be able to play some EyePet. But for more on Sony's coverage at GDC 2010, stay tuned to GameSpot, and we'll see what else is going on around. Live at the GDC 2010 Nintendo booth, I'm with my man David Young, assistant PR manager, right?
Absolutely. How you doing, Homer?
I'm good. Dude, we're live.
Woo! Excellent. Howdy.
That's rad, isn't it?
That's totally cool.
For everybody who's got any questions for David or Nintendo in general, go ahead and hit us on the Twitter at GameSpot. But anyways, Dave is going to take us through the booth. So what do you got on display, man?
Well, hey, we got some big news over here. Let me show you.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and by big, I mean big. This is
literally big.
Literally big. This is the DSi XL. This is coming out April 5th. You can get your hands on this little sucker. And here it is right next to the DS Lite. Now you can see this is actually, the screens are 93% bigger, right?
Yes.
We were thinking about maybe going 92, but that wasn't enough. We went 93% bigger.
You went morbidly obese on that guy, didn't you?
You know what? This is a great unit. I've been playing it for a little while, and it is really cool. The games look great on it. You can see things from a wider viewing angle. It's going to be something that people are going to want to get their hands on. Absolutely.
Awesome. Now, you know, tell us about this game that you got right here, because this one we showed earlier, and it was crazy. So.
It's totally crazy. This is Photo Dojo.
Photo Dojo, that's right.
Man. This is DSi Wear. It's coming out this spring. It's going to be really reasonably priced. I'm not sure what the price is yet, but it's going to be pretty low. The thing is, it's a basic Street Fighter game, right? But what makes it cool is that you are the fighter. You're going to use the camera on the DSi to take pictures in various poses, to create the fighter of yourself, your friends. You can use action figures, whatever you want, and make fighters out of. And then you also record the sound effects, so you can make it really fun, really wacky. So it's a great, fun little pick up and go.
You guys are kind of opening Pandora's box, I assume, to the variety of things the community can create.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's really all about creativity. We've got a few things that we're really allowing people to really share and show their creativity. And Photo Dojo is a great example. But I got something else over here.
All right, let's go check it out. Lead the way.
Even more cool. This is WarioWare DIY. And WarioWare DIY is going to be available on March 28th. Now, what's cool about DIY? Now, a lot of people know about WarioWare. The WarioWare series has been famous for years as having short little micro games. I mean, these are games that are just, you get a one-word command, you instantly have to figure out what to do within like just a couple of seconds.
Sure.
Now, this game will have all of that. It comes loaded with 90 games. You can also connect to the Wi-Fi connection and download new games every week that Nintendo's going to supply. But what's even cooler is you can create your own micro games. This has a tool on board that allows you to create micro games. You can share them with your friends. You can share them with people online. Very cool interface. So you can create games. You can create music. You can create comic strips, and all this content you can share online. You can even it's even compatible with a WiiWare game called WarioWare DIY Showcase. It'll allow you to play these micro games. You can wirelessly transfer the games from your Nintendo DS to your Wii system and play on Showcase. Really a great product, and you know, it really fits in with the theme here at GDC.
Cool. And remind people when this is coming out again.
Yeah, this is coming out on March 28th.
March 28th, right around the corner. Absolutely. All right, so speaking of right around the corner, what else we got on display here? You got some Monster Hunter Tri, right?
Yeah. So we got Monster Hunter Tri going on in here.
Let me get over here.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, this is a game that is being developed and published by Capcom. Okay. But what is really unique about this game is it's going to come with a special controller.
Sure. Do we have that controller available on hand? I don't know if folks are playing with it there.
We got some people playing. Let's see if we can grab one over here.
All right. And this is the playable demo, I assume?
Absolutely. This is the playable demo. It's available right now at GameStop. If you want to go and get one, you can go pick one up right now. It's got a couple of quests on it. But what makes this great is you're going to go out, essentially you're starting as a hunter. Okay. And a hunter is part of the community, and you're protecting your village. And you go out and you fight different monsters, different beasts. What's really cool is that all the different monsters in the game have different abilities or different characteristics characteristics. They have their own AI, and there's all kinds of monsters, all kinds of weapons. You can even connect with your friends online and go questing together. Up to 4 people can communicate via the WeSpeak microphone and go out and quest, and it's just really an incredible experience.
Cool, David. I know that Ricardo Torres is actually going to be in the studio demoing this a little bit later, but let's see what else we got going on here. You got a bunch of WiiWare games, right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we got Sin and Punishment. This is coming out June 7th. Now, Sin and Punishment Star Successor. It is it's the sequel to the original Sin and Punishment game that was released just in Japan, but it came out recently as a WiiWare game. Sin and Punishment is a serious game for serious players. It's all about quick action shooting. What makes it really fun though is using the Wii remote. You have the ability to point right at the screen, and it makes it a very quick, very visceral, very fun kind of arcade-style shooter.
Cool. All right, so we got 1 minute left, so we're saving the best for last, right?
You know what? And this being GDC, we like to give some love to our developers, and we've got a couple of great WiiWare titles down here that we're talking about. In fact, there's even somebody from the Cave Story team that maybe I can grab his arm there.
All right.
But yeah, we've got Cave Story here. And we've got Bit.Trip Runner, one of the games in the Bit.Trip series. Let me see if I can grab my friend here.
Sure. All right. Hey, look at that. We're putting you on the spot. We're live right now with GameSpot today on the spot, and we want to talk Cave Story. So
awesome.
Break it down.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what would you like to know? It's a 5-year in the making indie game made by one man. Did the artwork, he did the design, he did the programming. It's like a one-man machine. We've taken it and we've put it on WiiWare. Exclusive new content, new artwork, new music, new modes, 20% faster. So even the pro Cave Story players are going to have a big challenge with this new one.
Awesome. So I got to cut you guys off. We got much more to see, but give us a reminder of when this is coming out, and also for Bit.Trip Runner as well.
So you're going to get Cave Story on WiiWare March 22nd, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Awesome. And Bit.Trip Runner?
Bit.Trip Runner is coming out very soon. I don't have the exact date for you. Sorry about that.
Way to escape out of that one. That was very good.
I slipped out, huh?
All right, David. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the tour. Again, your name, Tyrone. Thanks again.
Pleasure.
All right, man. We're live here at the GDC 2010 Nintendo booth, but I'm going to send it back to a tape segment for Dragon Age, the DLC. Let's go see that right now.
Hey, this is Randolph here. We're speaking with Fernando Mello. He's the online producer for BioWare, and we're chatting about Dragon Age Origins Awakening. Fernando, first of all, can you briefly tell us what this game is all about?
Yeah, so Awakening is a way for you to continue your story in Dragon Age. It's set about 6 months after the events of Origins, and you have an opportunity where you as the hero of Origins can continue your character or start from scratch.
Okay, so this is essentially going to be a retail expansion pack. How many hours are you planning to add to the Dragon Age experience?
It's a really good question. Actually, the first thing that tended to come out of Origins that we realized is that hours was a really poor way to try to communicate just how much stuff was actually in these games. Awakening is cut from the same cloth. You know, in Origins we saw people that finished the game in like 30 hours. Some people were finishing in over 100, 120 hours. And Awakening very much so the same way, with the number of options that you have, party members that you bring with you, what side quests you're taking. Your mileage is going to vary quite a bit. I think what would be fair to say is that just like with Origins, nobody's going to be disappointed with exactly how much stuff is actually in here. It's as big as most full games these days.
Now, didn't we get rid of the blight in the last game? What's happening in this one? What's the storyline?
Well, there is still that. You mean the blood covering that you get? There is still a lot of that, and really, it really comes down to it's a very dirty world. It's a very dangerous world. There's a lot of combat, and combat is ugly. And it was something that we wanted to really evoke that kind of feeling that these things are messy encounters when you get into sort of war situations.
What about in terms of, I guess, the characters from the original game? Are we going to see a lot of them popping up in Awakenings as well?
So you have one returning character as your party member, but you do have a lot of other cameo roles. Depending on some of the choices that you made in Origins, you'll encounter a couple of other party members, and they'll absolutely remember the relationship that you had with them at the time.
Now, you mentioned you can either continue as your old character or start a new one. What's the difference going to be in terms of gameplay?
So the really neat thing is that Awakening absolutely caters to both stories, both sides of the coin. When you're continuing your character from Origins, you are the hero of Origins. You can import your character at any time. You don't have to have finished Origins. But time has advanced 6 months beyond the events of Origins, and at that point you are considered to have been the one that ended the blight. You are the hero, everybody recognizes you, everybody loves you for it, so everybody responds in a certain way. When you start as a brand new character, you are a warden, they respect you for that, but you are an outsider, you're a new character, you're coming from a neighboring country, there's a very a war past there between the two nations, so people are very mistrusting of you coming from that region, and it gives you a completely different perspective, completely different options, and different situations you'll have to deal with because of that.
What about in terms of new abilities and new spells? What can we expect?
So with every great expansion, this is sort of a throwback to old school days. It's built on top of Origins, and we've increased the level cap, and along with that we've added tons of new things for you to do. We have over 50 new spells and abilities. There's new specializations. There's 2 specializations per class. Each of the base classes also has additional spells and abilities. We have new skills like rune crafting. You can actually create your own runes now and apply them to armors, not just weapons. And there's also lots of other stuff. There's something like over 500 new items. There's new tiers of items. So very, very quickly, once you get in, if you import your character from Origins, you're probably going to want to shed some of those items for the really cool stuff that's going to be coming up in Awakening.
Thanks for that, Fernando. Tell us when we can expect Awakening and on what platforms we can expect it on.
Awakening will be out on March 16th, and it'll be available on PC, 360, and PS3. And on the consoles, it'll be available as DLC as well.
Thanks for that, Fernando. Now, if you want to know more about Dragon Age Origins Awakening, head back to the site. It's gdc.gamespot.com.
There's your look at Dragon Age Awakenings coming soon. Thanks for that, Randolph. We're joined now by Sean McInnes.
I braved the wind and the rain on the way back from the convention center, and I made it here safe and sound.
You know, we saw Hakan earlier from Super Street Fighter 4.
Oh, yeah?
Very oily. You're not wet at all.
I'm not wet at all. Most of the time, I do bear a striking resemblance to Hakan.
Yeah.
Today, I went with a different look.
You do spend a lot of time oiling up.
I do. It's a little suspicious.
Well, Dragon Age Awakening looking pretty good. And did you hear this rumor about Dragon Age 2 coming in February?
Yeah, apparently the retail copies of Dragon Age Origins Awakening come with a little leaflet that's got a dragon with 2 wings and a date that says February 1st, 2011. What could that mean?
I don't get it.
I don't know.
We'll find out.
I'm not good with math or numbers or metaphors involving dragons.
That seems like really soon. But hey, if they deliver, I'm all for it.
Sure.
Anyway, I know you're playing Heavy Rain.
I was.
Did you beat it?
I haven't beat it yet, no.
Okay, well,
although I was lucky enough, we had David Cage in the studio, and I got to actually talk to him about the state of my game. I was worried that I'm on a path to a bad ending.
Yeah.
Turns out, David Cage told me there's still hope.
There's still hope. All right, well, we had David Cage in the studio, as Sean said yesterday, and he was talking about new DLC for Heavy Rain coming very soon. It's called The Taxidermist, so let's check it out right now with David Cage. Hey everyone, it's time for our daily demo for Heavy Rain DLC. I'm joined by Quantic Dream's David Cage. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here. So we have some Heavy Rain DLC finally coming. We want to dive right into that and show us the episode that you guys are calling The Taxidermist. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the reception of Heavy Rain. Tell me about your feelings on how the game has been received by fans. I know you've heard a lot of stories of everyone sharing their experiences with you.
Well, we're really, really happy with the feedback we got so far from both from specialized press worldwide, but also from mainstream press, which was a little bit a surprise. And we also discovered that the feedback was extremely consistent, with most scores being between 9 and 10, which is really high. So the word of mouth now that the game is out is also extremely positive. So it's really great after having worked for so long on a project and talking so much about it, to hear finally gamers talking themselves about their experience and discovering how personal it can be and how different they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess DLC isn't necessarily a surprise for this game, but you guys are obviously trying different things with this. Tell me, we don't want to give too much away, but tell me what you can about the Taxidermist. Where are we? What are we doing here?
Well, this first DLC is based on the character of Madison Page. And you know, maybe you remember this scene. We started to show bits and pieces of this 2 years ago, because initially it was what we call a vertical slice. It was a way to illustrate how the game would work. and how gameplay would be implemented. And we showed this in Leipzig, I think, at E3, and many gamers wanted to have access to this scene that was not initially a part of Heavy Rain. It's not a part of the story as such. It's just a different investigation of Madison Page working on investigating this guy that is a former taxidermist, and she just goes to his house and wants to ask him a couple of questions. But when she arrives, obviously he's not there, and she just wants to discover something. So she finds a way to break in the house, and many things will happen. Yeah, well, basically it's a slightly different approach to Heavy Rain, because this is really a scene that you can replay several times and see many different things depending on how you behave. So it's really your actions writing the plot, and like in Heavy Rain, making you the actor but also the director of the piece.
How does this episode fit in with the larger storyline? It's a side mission, correct? It's not a prequel or anything.
No, it's not exactly a prequel. It's really a short story by itself. So it has a beginning and an end, and you have a real sense of closure at the end, whatever happens. So it's really not a part of Heavy Rain as such. It's really just a different story based on Madison's character.
But she is investigating someone who she believes to be involved with the story, right?
In a certain way, yeah.
Okay.
And she will discover, of course, the taxidermist is definitely someone special, but he's not the origami killer.
Yeah, as I'm sure we'll find out. Can you talk in general terms about the interface for Heavy Rain and how you iterated on it, and how what was the process like of coming up with the interface and how you control and move with the characters?
Well, in Heavy Rain, we wanted to break many game paradigms about how you navigate with a character, how you interact with your environment. Most of the rules that are established by video games for years, we wanted to try many different things. So basically, we went for this interface where prompts are indicated on screen, just because it allows you to have contextual actions. Instead of having just one action button that you press to do something, actually you really do the move, you unfold the move, you're in control of the arm of your character. So it's not just about, you know, pressing a direction, it's really about unfolding the hand and doing the move by yourself.
And now we're inside the house and we see why he's called the taxidermist.
Definitely, it's certainly a creepy place. So we are not going to show you every single thing you can do, but you can basically really investigate in the place and really try to discover many different things and clues. But here we're just exploring the place, not interacting with everything, not investigating just to go fast.
Well, the question I had before we began our demo was you being so focused on the story. Can you talk about developing such an intricate and multi-layered story?
Well, it's always a very interesting exercise, because you want to tell not only one possible story, but you want to tell many different stories with many different variables and variations, and you want all stories to be consistent and all as good as the others. So this is definitely a challenge and a lot of work. So on this scene especially, it was an interesting exercise, really to try to play with all possible versions of the story, whatever can happen in this strange situation. So we can really explore all the house and interact with many things around here. And of course there is still the system of thoughts that we use in Heavy Rain. It's basically exactly the same interface than in Heavy Rain, of course. So she explores the house. She doesn't know exactly what she's looking for. I mean, just a clue or something, maybe she can find something. Until this moment when she discovers something.
Oh boy.
Dead body in the bathroom.
Yeah.
In the upstairs bathroom.
Who's she talking to there?
Dictaphone.
Okay.
She records everything
Oh, I
she
see.
sees.
She's recording her observations.
Okay, maybe we'd better go now. But
is that the end?
But,
okay.
But you know what? Maybe there's one last door. Let's have a look.
Oh, one more door? Okay.
Oh, but you can see the symbol really shaking because she's really stressed.
She's frightened, yes. Let's open it up.
So what's here?
Can it get any worse?
It can.
It can, apparently.
Oh, there are women here, but wait a minute. They don't move.
I don't want to give too much away, but Madison gets all the good encounters in this game. She meets the most interesting people.
Stuffed women.
Yeah.
That's really scary. So she's gonna take pictures because she's a journalist.
Yep. This is a scoop you don't often get.
No. So definitely this is not the origami killer, but this guy has definitely something wrong.
Yeah.
And this is probably the good
this the
timing
right
to
time?
leave the house, but wait a minute. Wonder what will happen.
Yeah, now I would be running. I wouldn't necessarily be walking.
Good time to leave this place.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. This is the time you got in trouble. Because the taxidermist is back and you're
Okay.
stuck in his house. So I'm not sure you want to meet him.
Yeah,
to
probably
be honest.
not.
Otherwise you may end up in his gallery.
All right, well, this seems like a perfectly fine time to
definitely
give people a peek at what to expect, but not spoil the entire experience.
Yeah, because from now on, really depending on what you're going to do, the story is going to change totally. So you can get very different experiences from there and see different types of stories. So it's up to you.
Well, there's your sneak peek at the taxidermist. The final question, of course, is when can we expect to be playing this DLC?
Very soon.
All right, very soon it will be available. David Cage, thank you so much for being here. It's our pleasure. And look for the taxidermist DLC for Heavy Rain coming very soon. That's the taxidermist, and Madison Page, she has the weirdest encounter. She meets the weirdest people.
Why was she taking pictures?
I don't understand that.
Yeah. Oh well.
Anyway, troubling. Sean.
Yes.
We are near the end of our GDC coverage.
Really?
Yeah, we are near the end. And we just have a few more things to get to before we wrap
All right, we're in the home stretch. This is it.
First of all, trivia question. I mentioned this at the top. Let's get a shot of this awesome trivia stuff. I want to show you guys this one more time. Again, we have the Tron t-shirt, we have the copy of Alice in Wonderland for Wii, and we have the awesome Mickey Mouse watch that one of you guys is going to win. It's a really nice watch. So we have a trivia question. That trivia question is the name of the author that wrote Alice in Wonderland. He wrote under a pseudonym, Lewis Carroll, of course. What was his real name? If you think you know the answer, you can send us the answer at on the spot at GameSpot.com, or use the answer trivia module on the page. Send us the answer, and one of you lucky people will win this awesome prize pack from Disney Interactive. That's your trivia question.
Was it Tom Clancy?
No, it's not Tom
Okay.
Clancy. I think it's John Grisham.
It might be John Grisham?
John Grisham.
Okay, one of those two.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good guess. Anyway, you know what? Even though this show is about over, our coverage of GDC is not over because we got more sessions tomorrow. We've got GameSpot editors who are going to be covering stuff like Brendan Sinclair is going to be covering a Humor in Games session. That should be pretty cool. So if you guys are not like all GDC'd out, you can check back on the site tomorrow and see a whole bunch of stuff. And of course, Sean will be back on Tuesday.
That's
with
right.
another episode of Today on the Spot, back to our regular Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule, and we'll have Dead to Rights Retribution on that show, so you don't want to miss that. And Sean, I think...
what's this?
I got this for you last week.
I've been smelling this in the studio all
Just to
week.
celebrate the end of GDC.
This is what I've been smelling underneath this desk for the past 5 days?
I hid it, yeah, I didn't hide it well, but hey, it's delicious. It's pizza. We're going to enjoy this pizza. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hope you guys enjoyed all our live coverage this week, and we'll see you on Tuesday for another live episode of Today on the Spot. See you then, guys. That's disgusting. You're nasty.